So real quick before we dive into content, I just want to see if anyone wants to jump off and shout themselves out or shout out a teammate or, something that you overcame this week or achieved or are working on that you're excited about. I was looking in the back office and I really quickly just wanted to shout out Laura Guccione, who's hit UBT, Ilsa and Brandon and Tonya and Deb have all received healthy habit points. So that means that they have people who started the lifestyle transformation in February and are still on it here in April. So congratulations to those people. And anybody just want to jump off real quick?
Well, I can tell you a win from one of my clients. That is just like such an amazing win. I mean, all of them are, but this is my ex actually, and the way he describes everything is so like he's very descriptive. So I keep getting these messages from him. He's just like, my whole body feels like it's being lit up, and like I feel like I'm filled with white light, and it's just like it's been really, really beautiful to hear his experience because he's been texting me. He only has been on it for like a week, and he's been texting me for the past month, just like going on and on about how much he's suffering. So like he's like, literally, this is saving my life. So that's been like a really big excitement for me. And now he's really excited to get into the business side of things. So just to be able to work with him because he is always a good friend of mine. And the way that I left him was really interesting. So it's really beautiful that Purium's bringing us back together as friends after having a breakup. Like without Purium, we wouldn't have had it, and it's saving him from SIRS. Like he has seriously terrible SIRS, and his brain is just so messed up and everything. And like his results in 10 days, he's just blown away. So that's just like a huge light in my business right now.
Cool. Oh, I don't know why I'm that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And I see you getting some love in the chat. And it is really cool. Purium can bring us back connected to people. I just say this real quick because I know sometimes when we're reaching out, we're like, oh my God, I haven't talked to this person in 10 years, or I didn't end on such a good note with this person. What are they going to think me reaching out? And from my experience is that I've ended up being able to rekindle so many relationships that otherwise would have kind of just forgotten about, or maybe ended on a bad note. So I'm really glad you're having that experience, and congratulations to your friend. Anyone else?
I was gonna say one more thing. I have to get his testimonial on one of those little slides or whatever. Because yeah, the words he's using are so good, like absolutely incredible.
Well, if you send it to, I don't know why I'm doing that, but if you send it into one of the forms, like the customer service form, and just say, hey, this is a testimonial that I'd love to get in, they can direct it there. So cool. Okay, any more shout outs before we dig in?
I'm excited. Go
ahead.
ahead, Bob.
Really happy a couple of people just talked to UConn. It's like, oh, I'm just loving my, shakes. And then and my friend Judy, she was my first customer. She's like, she's back on a 10-day, and it's like, I'm running low on Power Shake. It's like, okay, here's how you get in my apartment. There's some in there. Go for it. Oh yeah, I ordered two. I'll refund you. And then just an old friend from college or from high school. She's like, I need some more of that apothecary. So it's nice. It's really nice when people appreciate it.
I was just gonna say the same thing. Like I have 3 people last week, and I'm asked them all now to do a testimonial. They're just like, thank you so much for this. This has helped me so much. Because when we have to do returns or somebody doesn't like it, it's really nice to have these too. And I'm really excited about a potential new brand partner and how she's going to use the cleanse with her students. So I'm just excited about that.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on that. And I love hearing both the health wins and the business wins. So we're going to dive in, you guys. This would be a time to get your notebooks. And for the first part of this call, I'm going to actually go over quite a bit of foundational stuff, because I know sometimes we forget some of the systems and we have new people that are just learning the systems. And it's just nice to have the repetition and know what's available to us. So I'm going to go over a little bit more logistical stuff And then Rita's going to dive into some deeper mindset and amazing things that she's learning in her business coaching course. So first thing I wanted to go over is one of our fundamental systems, which is the Connect call. And there's really two purposes for the Connect call. One, we call the discovery call, when you have an interested prospect who's interested in the product, right? And maybe you don't quite have the lingo yet or the information to share yet with that person. You can connect them with your upline on a quick, like 15 to 20-minute call, so they can get their health goals answered and we can get them on the right program, right? So that's one use of a Connect call. And many times after you've been on a handful of those, you can easily lead those for yourself. So that's the health purpose of a Connect call. And it really brings that third-party validation. Again, it brings the ability for you to share information without having to know it all, because you're leaning on the support and expertise of your mentor. And then the second purpose of the Connect call is for the brand partnership. So there's really two places that I really heavily utilize the brand partner Connect call, and I encourage you all to do, is number one, before the brand partner enrolls. So they're excited, they're ready to get started. We want to connect them with your upline for a pre-onboarding call. And really what this pre-onboarding call is it's a qualifying call. And it's really for the upline to assess, what are they looking for in terms of this business? Is this business a fit for them? Is the timing right for them? Which most of the time it is. And then some of the fun things that your upline can ask them is, like on a scale of 1 to 10, where is your level of excitement for this business? And if they're anywhere from like an 8 to a 9 to a 10, that's an opportunity where maybe your upline's like, all right, well, is there any reason we shouldn't get started today? And you can actually even sign them up as a brand partner on that call. But if they ask that question and maybe they're like a 5, 6, or 7, it's an opportunity to go further and say, well, maybe, I haven't answered all of your questions. What else, what else are you wondering about? So it's really a curiosity call where your potential prospect can get a lot of their questions about the business answered, and then we can qualify, is this a good fit for them? And the key reason for the pre-qualifying call is that we do that so then when they get started, they're ready to get started, right? Like they don't get started and then we're figuring out, oh, or do you want to get started? So I can't emphasize enough how important this pre-onboarding call is when you're enrolling your brand partners. And then the second kind of Connect call that we do for brand partners is once they've enrolled, getting them on the onboarding call. And I like personally, if you can bring on your upline for the onboarding call, because then you're introducing your person to the bigger community. At that point, they're meeting someone new. It's not always possible, but it's nice if you do have a couple active people above you where you can get these different voices in. And really the onboarding call is just to give them their first few steps. So I know sometimes we get in this business and we feel like, whoa, there's a lot going on, and there is. So what I want to go forward with today is when you first enroll someone, what are the key things to get them started on? And this is what can be discussed on an onboarding call. So if you are someone who leads onboarding calls, take these notes, yeah? So number one is just, have they downloaded the Purium board? And if you go into your Purium board, you can go to boards tutorial, and that gives you the link to send them how to download it if they have an iPhone or Android. So that's one of my first questions is, have you downloaded the Purium board? And then number 2, have you seen our welcome to the team.org onboarding site? So maybe just drop like a 1 in the chat if you haven't seen our onboarding site. I don't know where my chat went. So if you have not seen our onboarding site, drop a 1. And I'm going to go ahead and put it right here in the chat for you guys. So this is an amazing, okay, so Amy, you're going to want to, well, I can go ahead and actually bring it up for us. So this is an awesome site to share with your people after they've been on the pre-onboarding call. Because you can say, hey, or I'm so glad you're enrolling. Before we get on this onboarding call with my mentor or my mentor's mentor, check out this site. And so I'm just going to go through it real quick because it's just a good reminder for us all. If you go to the first steps, it literally guides you through. It even says, like, read through this page. It'll take you about 45 minutes to complete going through this information. And it's also a really great reference site for when you're supporting your teammates, like, oh, where do I find the information for the smart order? Or where do I find the We on FIA board? It's right here on this onboarding page. So it's not only for your new people, it's for you as a reference. So the very first thing is step one. We have to identify, why is this person excited to do this business? What is fueling them, right? The why is everything. It's our gasoline for this engine. So on the onboarding call, it's really nice to go through step one and talk about, what is your why? What is your bigger vision? Really let them express themselves. Probably for like the first 10 minutes of the call, we're just listening and we're hearing them and their bigger vision. Step two, we can talk about going live, and we can talk about going live with that why. So, you don't have to go into all the minuscule details, but it's all here for people. So you can talk to it briefly, and then you can always say, hey, here's this site to reference, right? So step two on there is the going live. Step three is our fast start bonuses, which I'm not going to get into right now. Step four, crafting our list, and it has it all written out to you. How do you do that? How do you start good conversations, with those lists, people on your list? We have our sharing your story, our launch event, and then creating your plan. So this isn't necessarily something you're going to want to go over on the entire onboarding call, but all those things are there for people. So you can use those as a guide for taking your person one step at a time. So I would say first and foremost, step number one is discovering their why. And then what I would say, oh my gosh, Rita, you might have to take over. I'm so sorry, you guys. The next thing that I would say when you're on an onboarding call is making sure that they get plugged in. Rita, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to roll from me. Plugged into our calls.
Okay, great. Well, Mary, if you're sharing the screen real quick, I'll just finish off where you're at and then I'll pass it back to you on this topic. But really simple, when we go to the team, welcome to the team, there's a tab that says training/event call schedule. And so Tuesday, every single Tuesday, we have beautiful transformation testimonials and stories on how this business has impacted people's health and impacted people's lifestyle transformation, creating that time and financial freedom. So that is a guest-driven event that most of you have been to, but you can invite your guests to again, just link arms and help get this out to more people and help people with solutions. And then Wednesdays, we have a customer support call. So anyone that is doing a transformation, one of us is leading a support call every single week where you are, connecting in with your customer personally and making sure they're doing good and, checking in with them every week or a couple of weeks to see, what their breakthroughs are and to really catch those testimonials. But they also have this to lean on, which is really amazing. And then we have our Thursday call, which we're on right now. And this is for the deeper team connection, the community. This is where we're up-leveling our mindset, our business skill set, and having that transformation for our teams and really supporting everyone at that bigger level. So yeah, and then we have the corporate call schedule, and that's where there's all kinds of inspiring things. I try and get to Leslie Zan every single week. The Monday Money Map is very inspiring if you want to learn more of logistics and step-by-step. And then the Products and Passion is obviously amazing with Dave, Fierce Friday. So anytime you need inspiration, just plug into a call, and that's where you will get training. And that's where you can take your skills to the next level.
Thank you. She's good now. So exploring someone's why, making sure they know about this resource so they can start working through the steps, and then making sure they're connected to the community. Because one of the huge benefits of this business is that we are a leveraged business. And what that means is that we can leverage the experience, the knowledge, the time, the skills of hundreds of other people who have come before us and had lots of success and shared with products with lots of people and built their amazing business. So I think one thing that is something to emphasize when people are starting this business is that you don't have to do it all on your own. There's a beautiful website here for you with beautiful step-by-step processes. There's these beautiful team calls where you can come and you can learn as much as you want, and you can feel connected to the community. And so those are my key things when I'm onboarding someone. I get into their why, what's fueling them, what are their bigger dreams, how can I support them in their vision, and then how can I connect them to this community so that they can hear stories and learn from other people who are maybe doing what they want to achieve. So go ahead and drop a 2 if this is bringing clarity, if it's making sense. Okay. Great. And then, you guys can go through all these steps. I'm not going to go through them on this call, but like anytime that you're trying to focus on where do I support my brand partner next, just go through these steps. Be like, okay, we've done step 1, but have we really dug into step 2? Have I walked them through doing Widen Your Reach? And how I like to guide someone through the Fast Start program particularly is step by step. So if you're going for someone who's going to hit their Fast Start consultant in their first 10 days, it's like day 1, we go over their why. Okay, I'm going to help them go live about that why. Okay, we've done that. Step 2, have we talked about their story? And so step 2 is let's talk about their story. And then, hey, get back to me once you're ready to make your story post. 1 action step. Okay, we've done their story. Next step, have I talked to them about the rhythm of 3? So 1 step at a time. And if you cover these 7 steps in their first 10 days, they're going to learn so much, right? And they're already going to have their launch event planned. It's not going to feel overwhelming because you're doing it step by step. You're doing it with them. And then, once they've finished a task, that's when you introduce more information. So hopefully that's landing and that makes it feel more doable for you all. And then one thing I wanted to touch on is, how do you really coach someone through the Fast Start bonuses? And how do you do it yourself? If you've came in and you didn't hit your Fast Start bonuses, the cool thing is that when you bring on a person, you get the opportunity to try to do it again. And so my first piece of advice is, if you're going to coach someone through Fast Start, do the Fast Start with them. So if you're telling them to do 10 days of lives, their first 10 days, you do your 10 days of lives in those 10 days too, right? You draft your story with them. You do your story post with them. And the more you do a repetition of the steps, the more you're going to be able to help people move through those faster and actually achieve these bonuses. So there's a couple key questions that I ask people when I'm qualifying them for, do I think they're actually going to move through all the Fast Start bonuses? And so number 1 is I have this conversation with them about the time commitment. And by no means does going fast mean we have to spend 40 hours. We don't want to confuse with fast with a large amount of time. Really, I'm like, can you dedicate a reasonable part-time effort to this business? And a reasonable part-time effort is 10 to 15 hours. Like if they can give me 10 to 15 hours a week, I know that I can support them through the steps efficiently. So that's the number 1 question I ask is, what's your timing commitment like? And can we have this 10 to 15 hour commitment together? Number 2 is coachability. And I'll just straight up ask them, like, do you consider yourself a very coachable person? And sometimes they'll say no, but I would like to be, or sometimes they'll say, yeah, totally. And it'll be like, wonderful, because we have proven systems here that work. And really the only thing we have to do is sometimes get out of our own way and learn the system. And that is like the key to having the duplicatable success. So I get a word of mouth agreement from that person that they're willing to be coached and they're willing to be held through these steps, at least to give it a go. So number 1 is the time commitment. Number 2 is the willingness to be coachable. Number 3 is a commitment to our team trainings and our calls. Because like I said, there's so much value in content and education and monetarily in all of our team calls, our corporate calls. And so if someone's not leaning into those calls, it's really hard for me to coach them effectively, because then I end up repeating myself a lot. Or, the calls are meant to really utilize all of our time very effectively. So I make that very clear. Like, if we're going to go fast together, if we're going to do this thing together, part of that 10 to 15 hour commitment is being on some of these calls so that we can be on the same page. So that's a commitment I look for. And then the 4th commitment is a commitment to communication. So especially in that first 10-day window, I'm like communicating with them daily, right? We're like, hey, how's this step going? Have you completed that little task I gave you? Great. Here's the next one. How's this going? How are your conversations going? How's your list going? We're in constant communication. And then also their willingness to be in communication with my mentor, on some 3-way calls for further coaching. So that's how I kind of assess if I feel like a person's going to go fast. Is, are they in that time commitment window? Are they coachable? Are they dedicated to coming to some of the trainings? And are they willing to be communicative with me? And so go ahead and drop a 3 if this is helping to kind of maybe lay out some foundation of how the easiest way to work with people. And I will say it's much easier to get these commitments from people after you've gone over their why. So once you've dug into their why, you found their vision, it's so much easier to say, hey, based on what I've heard you say you want to create here, or based on the income that I've heard you say you want to create, the amount of lives you want to change, I feel like these 4 commitments are really going to be in alignment with your vision, right? So we have to fuel it with the vision. Drop a 2 if that makes sense. So again, our actions have to match our words, and that's where the why comes in so important. So the last thing I'm going to touch on that is really helpful when you're onboarding someone, and some of the first steps, is actually working a strategic list with your people. So drop a 4 if you've never worked a strategic list for yourself or with a teammate. Curious to see. So a strategic list is actually sitting down with people and explaining to them that the easiest way to do this business is just helping 3 people a week. We help 3 people a week get on a lifestyle transformation, or, a ULT. And that is the fastest way to go through the fast starts. It's the fastest way to create duplication. So we really simplify it. 3 people a week that we get to help. And in order to get those 3, you're probably going to have to talk to more than 3 people, right? Because some are going to be ready now, some are going to be ready later. And so I like to develop a strategic list of 10 to 20 people when people are first getting started. And I have them write down the names, who are 10 people that you think that this might help health-wise, who are 10 people that you'd love to partner with business-wise. And the first question is, how do you know them? Right? Are they your best friend? Are they your ex-boyfriend? Have you not talked to them in a long time? How do you know them? Next question I ask them is, when was the last time you talked to them? Was it yesterday? Was it 10 years ago? Third question I ask them is, are you connected on social media with them? And this is an important point, because if you are going live every day and you are doing your social media and you are friends with them, the likelihood of them kind of seeing what you're up to is much higher than maybe them not being connected and you're kind of just like cold calling them and saying, hey, this is what I'm up to, right? So it's good to know if maybe they're getting some input from you socially. And then number 4, why did you think of them? So I'll go over those 4 questions again. 1, how do you know them? When was the last time you talked to them? Are you connected via social media? And why did you think of them? And once I have these 4 answers, together we can create a plan of, okay, you know what, based on that information, I think the best way to reach out to them would just be to give them a call. Like, you saw them last week, they're a good friend of yours, you're connected on social media, you thought of them because you love them, like, just give them a call and just let them know what you're up to, right? Or maybe it's, someone you haven't talked to in 10 years and you really want to just kind of plant a seed, and you're not on social media with them, and you thought of them just because, again, it's someone you maybe want to rekindle a relationship with. I might say, well, hey, why don't you, reach out to them on Facebook and send them a message like, hey, it's been forever and you came to my mind and I'm just seeing how it's going. Like, start rebuilding that relationship, right? So this list is going to help us decipher who are the closest people to be saying yes, right? Based on these questions. And so coming up with a plan of how to reach out to these people and when you're going to reach out to these people can really help people get in that rhythm of 3. Like, oh, okay, whatever people are closest to saying yes, you circle them and say, okay, these are probably the 3 you might focus on this week. And then each week you keep adding to the list so that you're constantly working this list of 10 or 20 people, and so that you're constantly able to have this rhythm of 3 each week. So go ahead and drop a 10 if that's making sense. I can go ahead and drop those 4 questions in the chat. So that's kind of some of the foundational elements I wanted to go over, of like the purpose of the Connect call. There's the health one that's very brief to get people the information they're looking for. There's the pre-onboarding brand partner call, and then the onboarding brand partner call. And then there's this daily communication with your brand partner about going over the steps, and utilizing the resources that we have, the Purium board and the welcome to the team.org website, which also has our We on Fire board if you want to go that far with them. And just taking people through the steps, leveraging these team calls, and then really honing in on this, working your strategic list, because that will keep you in the simplest and most underwhelming state of this business, which is rhythm of 3 each week. I get to serve 3 people this week. Some of them might be business partnerships, some of them might be health prospects, but I'm excited to work with 3 people each week, right? So that's what I wanted to share. Hopefully that was helpful and kind of broke down our systems a little bit for you guys. The last thing that I want to share real quick before I pass it to Rita is there is a really powerful event coming up. It's called The Most Powerful Woman in Network Marketing, and it's led by Melina Awore, who's Eric Worre's wife, who's like one of the network marketing grandfathers, we'll call it, godfathers. And it's not just an event for women. Everybody can go to this event and get super inspired, but it's a free event. I think they're actually going to start charging for it on April 20th, and it's in May. It's May 5th through the 7th. And my goal is to get as many of us on this event as possible, because there are going to be so many amazing stories, so many phenomenal trainers from people in the industry, mindset, posturing, systems, duplication, and really special because Lisa Nichols, who is someone Rita and I have been studying with a lot lately, is co-hosting the event. So I'm going to drop the link for it in here, and I just I hope this is the right link. I'll find the right link and drop it in there, but I can't encourage enough to sign up for this event, May 5th through the 7th. It's online, it's free until the 20th, and it's going to really help all of us up level our businesses. So that's what I wanted to share.
Thank you, Mary. I love it. You make systems just so simple and duplicatable. And remember, if you ever get overwhelmed, just take it one step at a time and reach out to your mentor. Hey, what's my next step? So we're really doing this together. This is a community effort, and that's the best way to learn. Something that I really value about this business is the way to master something is to teach it. So you get to learn something, you get to apply it, and then you get to teach it to one of your brand partners. And that is how you create mastery. So it just takes 10,000 shots, right? We're all just practicing, we're all just failing forward. So the main key is to have fun and enjoy. So thanks, Mary. I love those tips. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Can everybody see this? I had fun and made some slides for today. Just feeling really professional. But the main thing is who got to practice their story from last week. So we went over the Lisa Nichols story format, which was sharing your bigger you, things that you're proud of, things that you've accomplished, and then going into a low point in your life that was a struggle, and then how you made your way out of that and the lessons that you learned. So this is a powerful format for telling our stories, for teaching lessons, and for making a larger impact. And so our health calls, our business calls, so much of our training is really based on this format. So take time to practice it. I know a lot of you have been, and just go ahead and put in the chat a takeaway. Have you been able to discover more of your core messages, and something that Lisa Nichols shares, and she's unbelievable. She's changed my life. She says, your mess is your message. And I just love that, because we all have a unique perspective, unique life experiences that have brought us to this point. And all of us have really beautiful gifts to share through those experiences and through those stories. So we know the biggest way we can make an impact is by sharing our stories. So I recommend you check that out. Let me just see in the chat. There we go. Okay. Yay, great. So some of you have been practicing your story. And then you find that you have all of these lessons that you've learned and that you can apply into your health and into your business. So catch that replay if you missed it. Let's see. The next thing I wanted to go in is who has been practicing your powerful questions. So remember, we went over what would it take? So what would it take, for example, to create health freedom in the next 3 months in my life through Purium? What would it take to create time and financial freedom in my life in the next 6 months? And so powerful questions. Let me expand this for you guys. Okay, so powerful questions create powerful actions, because when you propose a question, the next step comes to you, and then powerful actions create powerful results. So go ahead and put in the chat what you've been noticing since you've been practicing these powerful questions, because the idea is that it gets you into your own problem solving. It gets you into a space beyond your limitations. It moves you more into that confidence. So we're just going to practice, what would it take, again, to create time, health, and financial freedom in my Purium business in the next 6 months. So please ask yourself this question multiple times on a daily basis, and you will find oh, here's what it would take. Here's my next step. Or, oh, this is who I want to work with, or this is what I want to do. So keep asking powerful questions, because powerful questions are what create the results in our life. Okay. And I wanted to do this one because this is so fun. What would it take to help a Fast Start Green Diamond in my organization? So we have had 2 new Fast Start Green Diamonds, which is very inspiring. One achieved it in 17 days, and the other achieved Fast Start Green Diamond in 3 weeks. So that, drop a 3 if that's inspiring to you. I know it's very much inspiring to me. Let me see if I can make this smaller. See everyone's chats.
There's a lot of 3s, Rita. There's a lot of 3s.
Okay, thank you. I got to move my chat box so I can see it. Okay, so very inspiring. So the average green diamond makes an additional $62,000 a year. So that's incredible for part-time hours, creating that additional income stream in 3 weeks or 17 days. So what inspires me about that is, who can I help make that a reality for? Whose life would it transform to create an additional $62,000 a year? you know, and what can they put that towards, or how does that give them more freedom or time freedom, or how does that impact their family and their children and their ability to be present, right? So my question is, okay, so how did they do that? Because I want to help other people do that and duplicate that. So what they did is they followed the simple duplicatable systems that Mary talked about that is on the Welcome to the Team board or website. So that's how they did it. The rhythm of 3. They led with service and their why. They shared widen your reach. And all of them were duplicating these systems. So both of them enrolled 6 brand partners, and they helped 2 of those brand partners to Fast Start Executive by following those simple steps that Mary outlined. And they both helped 2 people to Fast Start Director by following those simple steps and implementing them themselves and teaching others how to do it. So this business is meant to be turnkey and very simple. And when you look at business systems, we want business to be system dependent instead of person dependent, because then it makes it so anyone can do it and anyone can achieve success. So how can we empower other people to create that freedom through these simple duplicatable systems? And then, 3-way calls, and they shared their story, and they were brand new. So they didn't know what they were doing, and they leaned onto the systems and they leaned onto their mentor for support. And the reason I put KISS here is because it's my favorite acronym. It just means keep it simple, stupid. And that's of no offense. It's just like, remember to keep it simple, because we want simplicity is where we have the most impact. If we are keeping things too complex, we can't make as large of an impact. So there's so much power, so much truth in simplicity. Keep it simple, silly. Okay, I like that better. So the power of referrals. Did you guys know that the number 1 way people make a decision is through referrals? So I love the Oshoden story. They're crowns in this company as well. And the way that they started their business is they actually reached out to 100 people and they said, hey, I'm doing a transformation and I'd love to have more energy and support my gut. 3 things that they were looking to get out of it. Do you want to do it together? And if it was somebody they really wanted to work with, they just said, hey, Bob, I thought of you because you're someone I really respect and admire, and you're somebody that I'd love to work with. Can I share with you what I'm up to? Do you have 10 minutes where we can connect? And of those 100 people that they reached out to, only 7 were ready to commit at that time. But they asked all 7 people for a referral. So, hey, who do you know that would love to do this with you? Or, hey, who do you know that would love to get these same results as you? And go ahead and put in the chat, how many people do you think joined them in that month through those 7 referrals? Just take a guess, throw a wild number out there. 25, that's a great guess. So through those 7 referrals, they actually had 75 people join them in a transformation in their very first month. So they reached out to 100 people, 7 people were interested. So they put a lot of work in up front. 7 people were interested, and then they leaned on referrals, because when like someone refers a service to you, you trust them, they're your friend. So it has built-in trust, built-in credibility, built-in rapport. And they had 75 people join them in a transformation, many of whom upgraded into brand partners because it transformed their life so much, and they wanted to share this and get this out in the world in a bigger way. So that is the power of referrals. And so, really lean on that, like build your business through referrals. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. And then I want to touch on why 90 days, because if we're getting into that rhythm of 3 and we're helping people in their success, the reason that I support my clients and customers in 90 days has nothing to, it's not for me. It's for their success. So when I did my transformation, I had some good breakthroughs in my first month. I had some good breakthroughs in my second month, but I could have quit. I could have given up at that time, but Mary was persistent and like, hey, keep going. And thank God she was, because if I had not made it 90 days, I would have not hit my huge breakthrough and transformation. So my background is in regenerative health, and I tried for 12 years, to get the results I was looking for. And it wasn't until I did this program that within 90 days, it was the biggest transformation I'd had in my health in 15 years. And if I had not made it to that 90 days, I would still be dealing with all of those struggles and those same things that I was dealing with. So I really tell people my story, like, hey, we can do this for as long as you want to, but I want to bring you to your breakthrough. I want you to have lifelong, transformational results. So let's commit to 90 days so I can support you in having that breakthrough, and we can make any adjustments if we need to along the way. But my investment in the 90 days is so that I can serve them at the highest level. And I don't want them to give up early because they could be missing that huge breakthrough, right? So I feel very inspired to help people with that. And it's easy and it's simple and it becomes a lifestyle. And then rather than falling back on old patterns, they can truly transform their life. Because what did that decision actually do for me? It improved my confidence. It got me back into my athleticism. And most importantly, it turned me into like why I do this business, and that has transformed my life forever at the deepest level. And if someone is dealing with cost objections, remember, anytime you experience an objection of any kind, you can use feel, felt, found. So if someone is saying, I feel like it might be too expensive, what I share is, I feel you. I actually felt the same way when I started, because I did. And what I found is when I add in these superfoods, I eat 2/3 less food because they're so nutrient dense. And I find that my cravings go away. So instead of flooding my body with, or filling my body with snacks and all these things that aren't serving it, those fall out and I no longer need them. And what I found is it's $12 a day for 2 meals a day. And where can you find a meal for $6, especially an organic meal? Like that doesn't exist for me. So what I found is it actually saves me time, it saves me energy, and it saves me on my grocery bill. So feel, felt, found, and help people. We're going to talk more about this listening, but help people move through their own limitations into their greater self, into their greater possibilities. So we're always in service of how can we impact this person at the deepest level. Okay, so we're gonna discuss this. How can I make and go ahead and drop a 3 if this is landing, if this is helping, if you've dealt with this. Yeah, okay, great. So how do I make the biggest impact and bring about the deepest transformation in somebody's life? Drop a 4 if you would love to do this and help people truly transform their lives at the deepest level. Awesome. Okay, so what qualities, out of curiosity, put it in the chat. What qualities and characteristics does it take to bring about transformation in somebody's life? Whatever you think, just go ahead and put it in the chat. No right or wrong answers here.
Do you mean for the person who's going to do the transformation or for the person guiding them?
Oh, the person guiding the person guiding the person through their transformation. Okay. Wow, I like these. I like these. Commitment, building on their faith, my own experience, absolutely. Empathy, patience, yes. Courage, compassion, commitment and consistency, understanding, all of these things, not giving up on them. That's huge. Okay, so the first thing that I believe that helps people transform the most is presence. And so for one, all transformation, all growth happens in the now. So in order to have our own transformation, we need to be present to it. In order to help other people have a transformation, we need to be present with them. So go ahead and practice with me, but just breathe in for 4 seconds and breathe out for 8 seconds. And let's do this again. Breathe in for 4 and breathe out for 8. Is anyone noticing their jaws starting to relax a little bit? Go ahead and feel the weight of your body in your chair. Go ahead and breathe in for 4 and breathe out for 8. And start to notice your body feeling a little bit more relaxed. Does anybody's nervous system release a little bit? For me, it did. And so the first thing I do is anytime I'm showing up for a customer or for a brand partner, I do this so that I can be present for them, because only when I'm present can I transform their life and make an impact. So that's step 1. The next, a lot of you guys also covered. So curiosity, empathy, asking questions, and listening. And did you guys know that the most powerful and transformational and effective coaches in the world help people to solve their own problems? They don't solve them for them. They ask them powerful questions that guide people to their own solutions. So that's what we are doing here in health, in business, in transformation. And so I do want to cover this because this is really interesting. I learned this from Lisa as well. How many of you, go ahead and drop a 2 in the chat if you feel like you need to be the expert in order to transform somebody's life or in order to make an impact on them? How many of you have that belief? Like, oh, I need to be an expert before I can help somebody. I used to think that. And so actually, we're all a work of art. So WOA, work of art. We are the expert that is still learning and will always be continuing to learn. And guess who the true expert is? Cecilia says, 2, but I keep reminding myself that story is a powerful experience that helps so many. Yes, stories is how we can transform and help people, and presence. Beautiful, Amy, mending that belief. So who is the true expert? The consumer is the true expert. So we want to discover, our client, who we're helping, what are their needs and what are their wants. And guess what our true purpose is and how we can make the biggest impact. We're not the expert, we're the service provider. So we're figuring out what their wants and needs and goals and visions are, and then we're helping to give them a solution that will close the gaps to bring them there. Okay, so we're not the expert, we're the service provider. And how do we provide better service? How do we figure out what those needs and wants and goals are? We lean on empathy, we lean on curiosity, and we ask questions. So our biggest superpower is to ask deeper and more creative questions, to practice generative listening, which we'll talk about. Yeah. And I really love this too. I was listening to Gary Vee talk about this the other day, and he's saying a really good point. In the next 3 years, our reality is going to be so transformed with AI that you can type in any subject, anything, and have an entire paper or essay or social media written up for you on any subject. So information isn't so transformative. What's most transformative is presence and empathy and connection. So empathetic listening, does anybody know what that is? Go ahead. Most of us do. This is what we're practicing on a daily basis. This business has helped me to become a much better listener. Okay, beautiful. So empathy, we're coming from a space of non-judgment. and we're learning how to see the world from their lens. So this is your brand partner, your business partner, your client, you know, anyone that you're working with. So how can you hold a safe space for them and ask questions that will learn about their perspective, about their reality? And then we reflect back what we've heard. I've heard that you're passionate about X, Y, and Z. Is that correct? So we want to make sure we're hearing them correctly. We want to mirror it back to them. And then generative listening is next level. Generative listening is when we listen for their strengths. We listen for their potential that they haven't stepped into yet. And so we're actually helping them step into the next best version of themselves based on what they're not saying. So this is fun. Like, we're going to practice this more, but start to practice this with, you know, with your brand partners and with your clients. So an example of this is I was working with someone and they're like, my values are X, Y, and Z. And I was listening and I didn't hear a lot of joy behind that. So I was like, are you sure those are your values? She's like, yeah, I've done this a million times. I'm like, okay, are you sure? And she's like, no, those aren't my values. Those are my parents' values that they passed down to me. My actual values are X, Y, and Z. And then she lit up and her purpose came to life, right? So asking open-ended questions is how we can create transformation. And then listening, and I challenged her belief by asking a question. Are you sure that is your values? Are your values? Oh, actually, no, they're not. So, and allowing space for silence, because that's when people have deeper insight. Okay. So these open-ended questions, here's some examples. Open-ended questions are yes and are not yes and no questions. They can't be answered in a yes and no. It brings someone deeper into themselves and helps them find the answer. So back when I did used to do health coaching one-on-one, I never told them what their next step was. I asked them questions that would help them connect to their innate intelligence and learn how to listen to their body, and their body would tell them the next step. Like, that is the true guidance. And it would have been a disservice if I told them their next step, because it would have had them have the belief that I need to seek answers outside of me. I need to have validation outside of me. And instead, I gave them back their power and said, what do you think is the next step? What is your body telling you? And through these questions, they found like true power. You know, they reclaimed their ability to connect to their body and listen to it. So I wanted to deliver people back to themselves, not to seeking, you know, something answers outside of themselves. So that's what we're doing as mentors, as coaches. So some examples is, you know, what does success look like to you? Or what would a successful business partnership look like to you? So then I'm learning what their expectations are and what their vision is. And if you had time and financial freedom, what would your life look like? Right? So I want people to start breathing life into their vision. Tell me more, you know. Another one, what would your life look like if you no longer experienced pain? Right? That was a really profound breakthrough for me, and not having pain anymore. What kind of impact do you want to make in the world? Right? So these are just open, powerful questions that you're helping your brand partners, your customers, to find their answers and to lead them on a path of greater transformation. So if this is kind of landing, or if this like sounds fun or creative, like all of this is just about having curiosity and non-judgment. So drop a 4 if this is kind of fun for you guys. Cool. Yay, great. I love this question. What would your perfect, quote unquote, perfect day look like? Right? So Purium, this business has allowed me to create my dream life. And my deepest passion is to help other people create their dream life, right? So I want to know what their dream life is so that I can help reverse engineer and make that a reality for them. But I can't help them if I don't know what their vision is and what their why is. So I know we're running short on time. I'm not sure if I'm going to have time for the niche today, but I do want to go over it briefly. So how do I find my dream niche? So your life is a reflection of the 5 people that you hang out the most with. So it's the reflection of your inner circle. So who do you want to be surrounded by? Like, I want to be surrounded by gladiators. So it's really, really important when you're defining who you want to work with in your niche to ask, who do I want to be surrounded by? Because that's going to be a reflection of my life and my joy and my abundance and my happiness. Next question is, who do I want to step into? Who do I want to become? So these are good things, just I want you to journal on when you have time. And what do you want your lifestyle to look like? So what does that perfect day look like to you, right? So these are the questions we want to explore when we're defining our niche. And I used to work with people who had chronic conditions because I wanted to help them. And I'll still help people because I love helping people in that way. But I found that for me, that became stressful and that became physically and emotionally demanding. Like, it wasn't my greatest joy. Like, I loved helping people, but I found that it was draining me. And so you just have to play trial and error. What do I want to do? And what's actually my higher expression of helping people? So then I moved to helping people get out of pain because that was my story and I wanted to help other people do that. And that was rewarding, and I'll still help people in that way. But I realized it was holding me to my past instead of who I was becoming, my unlimited future. And so now I'm in the space of like, wow, I truly have been able to create my dream life through Purium. I've been able to create time and financial freedom, and I want that for everyone. Like, that right now is my deepest passion and niche, because if we can help others have more freedom, then they can show up more for themselves. Then they can get a massage weekly if they want. Then they can afford organic food for their family. Then they can invest in themselves like Mary and I just did. And we went to Lisa Nichols and like show up at the events and have a seat at the table of where they want to, invest in their next level of development. So for me, it's just, who do you want to become? Who's the next version of yourself that you want to become? And who do you want to surround yourself? And that is where coming up with your niche is so fun. So, health is the main basket that catches everyone, because we can't be successful unless we're healthy. So that is the foundation. But I want to work with gladiators. So here's my new dream niche: working with other gladiators who want to take their health and their joy and their freedom to the next level. And I'm personally really inspired to work with people who are aiming really high, who are pushing their limits. They're in the top 2% of whatever industry they're in, or they're here to make waves. They're here to make a bigger impact. And why do I want to surround myself with those kinds of people? Because they inspire me. And those are the kinds of people I've been hanging out with, and they bring me to my next level. So you want to work with people who are 10, 20, 30 steps ahead of you, because that's where you're headed, right? So think of your niche for your future self of where you're headed. So for example, I want to work with top athletes. So I've been working through referrals. Remember the power of referrals. Whom do you know? I've been talking to my friends that are athletes. Who do you know that wants to improve their performance, endurance, and recovery? And they're sending me referrals, and we're going to hop on a call to see if we want to do a business partnership. But they're connecting me with their friends who are top athletes. So I'm working through referrals, working with top CEOs who want to increase their productivity, are dealing with way too much stress, don't have enough time to take care of themselves. Working through referrals. Hey, who do you know that wants to improve their productivity? I also am very passionate about working with birth workers, because I saw Mary's journey, of preventing and moving through postpartum depletion. So rather than me one-on-one working with mothers and women, I want to work with birth workers who are working with women on a daily basis, who can make a way bigger impact than me. So a powerful question I can ask them is, what are your clients' deepest struggles, you know, or, you know, so just think of how am I going to connect with these people? It's through referrals and asking big questions to open up those relationships. So I'm going to close it up there, but your dream niche is like, what sounds light and fun? Who are you stepping into? What's your future self? Who do you want to become? And who do you want to surround yourself with? So drop a 3. Oops. Okay. We won't go into all that. If that was helpful for you. I know we ran a couple minutes over. Cool. Yay. So helpful and inspiring. Thanks, Cecilia. So these are so fun. And we're here to dream. So go ahead and just let me know, did your niche get redefined a little bit of what maybe you were thinking and now maybe where you actually want to head, like maybe the up-leveled next version of yourself? Yes. And Amy, it's been shifting for you. Yes. So really play with like, who do I want to become and who do I want to work with? And then where do those people hang out? Like, do I need to go to these big business events or do I need to have local meetups? You know, so you're building community. And my main vision is to help take people, the gladiators, to their next best self, their next best self, their next best self. So yay, have fun. Glad, Bob, that got you dreaming. And Mary, I'm going to pass it back off to you. And if anybody wants to chat, put in the chat some of your inspirations, some of your takeaways, or maybe some of the niches that you're going to start moving towards. Let us know.
Yeah, so good, Rita. You guys can all tell she's been doing some deep dives and just the evolution this business can take, right? When we all first joined, we're like, oh, I'm gonna share some superfoods with some people. And then it's like this huge evolution that comes with the amazing possibilities we have here. And so, you know, to take it back to some of the foundational stuff I was saying, you know, use this developing your niche when you're developing your strategic list, when you're working through your strategic list. And maybe these people are saying, no, we're not for now, because you're not in your actual niche that you really want to be in, and it's not lighting you up. So this is all such good information. It's also relatable and usable. So I encourage you to take this inspiration and apply it. Don't just be inspired and walk away like, ooh, like take this. Where can you apply it into the foundational steps? On your next Connect call, are you going to ask more powerful questions? On your next curiosity post, are you going to, you know, show more empathy or relatability? You know, when you're developing your strategic list, are you focusing on your niche? Like, take this, put it into action, into the foundational steps that help us duplicate this business. And it's really amazing how far we can take this together. So thank you all so much for being here. We do have an info call tomorrow for our Spring Blossom transformation, group transformation. It's at 2:00 Pacific time. The link will be in the We on FIA support thread. So that's something to keep in mind. We have Fierce Friday tomorrow. We have this women networking event to start planning for in May, and just a lot of great things. So thank you for being here, and we'll catch you next week.
Awesome. And I'll just answer this quick question. Cecilia, your niche does change. It does grow. It does evolve as you evolve. But start with the thing that is lighting you up, that feels the most fun and joyful right now. And then once you've developed that, then you can expand. Love y'all. Bye.